they are so attached to the outcome and they're so enamored with just having somebody that they sacrifice their needs sexually.
Mm, yeah.
And they're willing to accept that because they have someone that makes them feel whole. So I'm always talking to them about, like, hey, are you really having your needs met right now sexually? Because it doesn't sound like it. Is there any way that can improve or change with this person? Or are there some tough decisions you need to make?
hmm Welcome to Sip with Summers, the podcast where we explore sex, intimacy, and pleasure. I'm your host, Jennifer Summers, a pleasure and intimacy queen, and a soon to be certified sex coach and clinical sexologist. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Sip with Summers. Today we are joined by the amazing and fabulous Dr. Kaitlyn Abadia. Dr. Kaitlyn is a licensed clinical social worker. She has her doctorate in clinical psychology, and she's also a dating and empowerment coach, working with women to become more confident and secure so that they can attract healthy partners. So excited to have you here, Dr. Kaitlyn.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Yes, we're so excited that you're here. I know that you have a background in social work, psychology, and a dating empowerment coach. Can you tell the listeners a little bit more about what you do?
Yeah, I've been a licensed clinical social worker for the past few years, working mostly with active duty military, but I've just started stepping into the coaching realm. I'm a dating empowerment coach. I work mostly with women who are anxious in dating and having a hard time attracting a healthy partner.
That seems to happen a lot out here.
It does.
As a single woman, I can so relate to what you're putting down.
Mhm.
So I'm curious, what do you think about the dating apps?
The dating apps, I think, can be fun if people don't take them too seriously. If they're secure enough in themselves, then it's a little bit easier. But even I myself, when I first got on them, I was anxious and trying to figure out who I should actually go out with. And there's lag times, there's ghosting, there's all this stuff. So I think that it can be difficult. So I always tell my clients, if the dating app is dysregulating your nervous system, get off of it. Take a little break. Figure out
That's good
what you
advice.
need to do for you so that you're not consumed by a notification from Hinge or any of the dating apps that you're using, because it can be really overwhelming for a nervous system.
Oh, absolutely. Do you have any apps that you like better than others?
I've used Hinge more, I guess, just because of the area that I'm in. I live in a tourist area.
Okay.
So if, like 6 months out of the year, there's a lot of tourists here, the other apps are kind of inundated with people that aren't going to stay here. Kind of hard.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, of course, if you're looking for a fling, that's one thing. But if you actually want to be in a relationship, yeah, you want them to be in your area permanently. So, what drew you to wanting to get into dating empowerment?
Experiencing it myself, being out in the streets, as they say. My childhood was messed up, as most social workers are. That's why we go into the helping field, right?
Mm,
And then having an emotionally abusive marriage, coming out of that, realizing, like, wow, I am incredibly anxious, and I bet I'm not the only one. And having friends and knowing other people and clients who were completely overwhelmed by the dating scene and missing the red flags and not knowing what to do or how to act or how to deal with the anxiety that comes when you don't see them or hear from them. So, having experienced it myself, I say I'm my own ideal client because I've experienced it, done the work to get through it to where now I have a secure relationship and I don't have to be in that constant state of anxiety, overwhelm.
Tell us how you got into your relationship now, since you said it's secure.
We've been friends for a while. We met through a friend and just circumstances didn't make it to where we could be together. Really just taking things slower and having somebody understand. I had gotten to a place myself with feeling more secure and being able to advocate for what I needed in a relationship and set boundaries. If there were any issues that came up, communicating those, because as an anxiously attached person, that can be incredibly difficult.
hmm
So, getting to that place for myself before I jumped into something was really important. And just now, if something comes up, I'm able to address it. Whereas before, I would kind of sit quietly and then resentment would build and it would end up being an unhealthy thing. So, I
So,
had to do a lot of inner work to get to where I am.
ugh, preach. I mean, that's really what it's
Yeah.
all about, right?
Yeah.
I have basically been single since I went to therapy. So I went to therapy and realized the guy I was with was not the guy for me because I learned to love myself and realized I didn't need to have somebody love me. I guess what would you call that? Anxious attachment style.
Well, I think if you feel like you need somebody else to complete you, that would be
Mhm.
anxious. But then if you get to a place where you're at now where you're like, "Oh, I can love myself and that's enough," then that would be more secure.
Yeah, that's a good place to be.
So now
Therapy's great.
yeah, now if somebody comes into your life, then it's value added, not anything taken away.
Mhm. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's why I'm still single. Haven't found them yet. So, how do you find the different attachment styles showing up in your work?
Oh, so like I said, I mostly work with anxiously attached women, but with that, they're typically drawn to the opposite, which is an avoidant or someone who's disorganized that they exhibit avoidant and anxious attachment, both, well, kind of all in one. So I see that show up a lot. And there's a lot of education that goes behind that, where the anxious attached person will internalize everything as if, like, oh, it's my fault. I shouldn't have said this. I shouldn't have done that. If I hadn't, then they wouldn't be pulling away. And it's like really just bringing awareness to the other attachment style that you're attracted to so that it all makes sense. I myself dated an avoidant for a year and I internalized a lot of things that were not true, negative cognitions and stuff that was just like, this isn't actually a result of me. This is them and their issues. They need to work on that. But when you're in it, you're not thinking that it's them. As anxiously attached people, we're just internalizing everything.
Now, for our listeners who maybe aren't as familiar with the different types of attachment styles, can you share more about what they are?
Mhm. Yep. So the anxiously attached, people would describe them as the clingy or needy ones, right? They're the ones that blow up your phone 5 times because they can't get in touch with you. They're the ones that get really angry or upset with you because you didn't do a certain thing they were hoping you would do, but they didn't communicate what that thing was that they needed. They don't really know what they need typically. We are incredibly fearful of abandonment. That's like number one for us. I say or do this person will leave me and then I will be alone. And I don't know how to be alone because I'm so insecure within myself. Right.
Yeah.
So the avoidants are more, they still feel some of the things that we do, but their responses are different. So maybe they feel something towards this person, but being in that vulnerable place to show them that looks more like backing off and shutting down. Sometimes if like the anxiously attached people feel so intensely and the avoidant ones are like, I feel this way about you, but I don't know how to show that because I'm afraid to be vulnerable with you.
Mhm.
It's funny because I have a friend who is avoidantly attached. So her and I are constantly comparing. I'll say, hey, whenever this happens, what do you want to do? And she's like, I no, I don't want to respond to that at all. That is too much for me.
Oh my
And I'm over
gosh.
here like, but when you don't respond to people, they really take it personally. And she's like, well, I never intend to hurt them. It's just that I can't handle all those feelings. So I'm just going to shut down and step away. So it's really hard to navigate. And then the disorganized ones are more so a combination of the two. So it can be very confusing because one minute they're anxious, and the next they're avoidant. And you're like, wait a second, what is going on here?
Let's say somebody's going out there and they want to date. How do they recognize what is my attachment style and what are the people I'm dating's attachment styles?
Honestly, I make most of my clients take a quiz because that's the easiest way. But a lot of times I will just go through the different things like we've discussed. How do you feel when this happens? And then what do you do or what do you want to do when this happens? And that can typically tell me which one they are.
Mhm.
I advertise working with anxious women, those are the ones that I'm getting. But then once they learn a little bit more about their attachment style and why they are the way they are, because that's another thing is like a lot of times we go through life. I was 32 years old before I realized that I had an anxious attachment style. And I'm a therapist. And
Wow.
you don't really think about it. You can educate everybody else on it, but actually looking internally is like, oh, wow. Now that I know, I can go back to certain instances with my ex husband or other boyfriends where I'm like, oh, wow, this is going on for a really long time. And I just didn't have words to it. We think there's something wrong with us because we don't actually know what to identify it as. So that identification piece is huge. Once you can identify it and bring awareness to it, you're like, oh, wow, this all makes sense.
When I started learning about attachment styles, it really uncovered a lot for me and it allowed me to reframe my experience moving forward. so that I didn't fall into those same roles that I had been for all the years I've been dating. Do you find that the attachment styles come from our upbringing, or is it something else that causes us to become more anxious or more avoidant?
I feel like just based on my experiences with clients, 9 times out of 10, it is definitely from a childhood experience
Mhm.
that they had, whether it was a caregiver who was overly anxious, maybe like the helicopter parent that's just putting all their anxiety on the kid, or neglectful or abusive, just maybe they're physically there, but mentally not present, or they're not emotionally supportive. A lot of my clients, probably almost all of them, experience emotional neglect as children.
Mhm.
So that can weigh into a lot of it. So if it's like my emotional needs weren't met when I was a child, I had no one to go to with my cares, concerns, hurts, any of that. So then they just learn to neglect their own needs. And then here we are, grown, neglecting our own needs and letting other people take advantage of us. That can be a lot to come to terms with when you realize, oh, wow, this is a result of my upbringing. Or it could also be maybe they had a great upbringing, but maybe they got into an abusive relationship early in their adulthood. And that can also cause a lot of issues.
This is why mental health is so important that we take care of ourselves because there's so many traumas and things that can be piled on us growing up that we don't even recognize them when they're showing up in our adult life because we're so used to it.
Somebody marries someone who's emotionally abusive and they feel like they're always walking on eggshells. And I'll ask them, did you feel like that any other time in your life? And they're like, yeah, I felt like that with my mom. And you're like, oh, okay. So you just recreated what you knew to be familiar. And we're just repeating those generational traumas. The only difference is I think now there's more awareness of mental health and the benefits of it than there was 10, 15, 20 years ago. So we're able to look at it now and do things differently and look back at our parents and be like, wow, you didn't know any better, but you didn't do me any favors either.
Yeah. I really resonate with that statement, Dr. Caitlin. So I'm curious, like one thing I'm learning in coaching is that oftentimes as coaches or even clients that we know what we need to do, but we're not always doing it. How do you find yourself taking your own advice?
Oh, sometimes a lot of times it's the research that I do for my clients that kind of brings an awareness to me, but it's also continuing in therapy myself. Anytime something comes up with my partner or a disagreement with a friend or coworker or something, I'm the first to be like, "Ooh, let me add that to the list of things to talk to my therapist about so I can go ahead and address it head on."
That's
You
so
know, so I
smart.
think practicing what I preach is pretty important.
Mm,
Just making sure that I'm in check so that I can be the best version of myself for my clients and other people around me.
I love that. Now, I want to ask you, so as I was preparing for our chat today, I was reminded of a client I had recently, and she and I were talking about her wanting to get back out there and start dating again. And then we uncovered that her last relationship, there was no closure. And the way she describes it, he was definitely an avoidant attachment style. My question is this something you see coming up in your practice a lot too? Is that pretty common where people are carrying around past trauma or lack of closure into these new relationships?
Definitely. Yeah. And I think it kind of depends on the partner that you end up with. So if, let's say, you're recovering from that and you're carrying that baggage, and then you just, land in another avoidant relationship, then that just adds to it because it further reinforces, like, oh, maybe there is something wrong with me, or maybe I am too much because they can't hold the space for your feelings. But I've also seen it work the other way where my clients get into a secure relationship and they're incredibly overwhelmed because if that partner is secure, it's highlighting all the things that they still need to work on, right?
Ooh,
So it's like,
yeah.
"Oh, wow, I do have some flaws I need to work on," and I know I've done this myself where I have to take a step back and I'm like, "Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Don't get crazy. It's fine." Really just regulating myself. So I would have to work with my clients on like, "Let's regulate you and let's get you in check, then you can talk to your partner." Because if you go to that man or woman dysregulated, that's not gonna help matters. You gotta know how to regulate yourself before you take that on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Self management, super important just in life.
Yeah. Mhm.
I'm curious, what would you say is your number one tip for dating?
Number one tip for dating, I think, is don't take it personally. There's a lot of people out there that have their own stuff, and we don't even know what all of that stuff is. So if they're acting a certain way, that's not necessarily a reflection of us and who we are or our worth. It's sometimes just them. So I think it's twofold, right? So don't take it personally, but also know your worth.
Hmm. Yeah. Now, to add to that, how many dates do you think someone should go on before they like decide if it's not working or if they're not attracted to them?
I think it's dependent on the person because sometimes people show their true colors pretty quickly, right? So I think we have to be pretty observant and in tune with ourselves. And like I always work with my clients on like, how does your nervous system feel while you're with them and when you're away from them?
Hmm.
Are you constantly anxious? Are you able to relax? Like, where's your nervous system at before and after the date? Obviously, if you go on a first date, you're going to be like a little bit nervous, but does that calm down at all? Or do you still feel hyped up, while you're there? Are you able to calm down with this person? Do they create that calming space for you? So I think it really just depends, but it's also, there's a lot of covert narcissists out there.
Ah,
So it can be
yes.
hard to determine, right? So my friends are mostly therapists, joke that we all run in a pack, but they laugh at me because I do little tests of people and their ability to hold my space emotionally, just little things that I'm like, if you are a covert narcissist, then something will come of this. Because I was with one for so long. Like, are they overly affectionate? Are they love bombing you? Are they calling you baby the first message that they send? It's kind of like, I'm not your baby. I don't know who's your baby, but it's not me.
Right? I know. I hate when they do that.
Yeah.
I have definitely had my share of the covert narcissist before, and I would
Oh, they're
like to
so
think that I
hard.
can sniff him out now, but occasionally they do fall through the cracks. Some are better than
Yeah.
others.
Yeah. They're tricky ones for sure.
Hmm. So I am doing this 50 first date challenge. It's a self-imposed challenge, and the goal is to learn what I like, learn what I don't like, learn what my red flags are, learn what I really desire in a partner. Having a background of anxious attachment, I used to go on a date and if we hit it off, I would immediately be thinking like their last name and my first name and like, wedding bells and all of this. And it definitely made me get too excited too quickly. So part of the reason I'm doing this is to not feel so attached because I know there'll be someone else. That's why I wanted to ask you about how many dates. Some of my girlfriends and I go back and forth. Some say, oh, you need to have 3 dates before you really decide. But I've always felt like trust your gut. If I'm excited to go home to my cats, maybe this isn't the guy for me.
Yes.
I want to know your opinion. I am really looking for that person where there's a spark, some chemistry, or I don't want this date to end. I want to keep exploring this person. I'm really curious about this person. Do you think that it's better to look for that spark and that chemistry, or is it better to give someone a chance and see where things grow?
I think it depends because I've worked with a lot of clients who were with the covert narcissist and they describe that first date as like, oh, it was like fireworks. There was such a spark. It was magical. So I think we have to be careful if we feel that way, if it's true connection and there's no room for narcissistic tendencies, that can still happen. We have to watch the spark because sometimes when the spark happens, we're really excited and we get attached to the outcome because we're anxious.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Okay. So what
But
I'm
I do
hearing
think
is
that
follow the spark, but they might be a covert narcissist.
you never know. But also giving them the chance if there isn't that immediate thing, because sometimes people are just shy. Like I've gone out with people who they're shy the first couple of dates and they start to open up and it's kind of like, oh, okay, wow. There's a little bit more underneath the surface. It just took a minute to get to it because of whatever hurt or hang up you've had in the past.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I really do try to meet people where they're at, but I've also been online dating off and on for almost 20 years. Insane to say. Not consistently, of course, but yeah, I love everything you're sharing. It's definitely got my wheels turning. So I want to know, when you were growing up, what kind of messages did you receive about sex, intimacy, and pleasure?
Oh goodness. Um, so I was raised Southern Baptist. And it was very much, oh, you have to wait till you get married. You can't be scandalous. You can't blah, 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 all of that stuff. So I think the message I received was like, sex is a little taboo and, you just shouldn't do it. Or if you do have sex, then you're, with multiple people, then you're a whore or whatever. I don't really like that message. It's interesting that you asked that because coming from that background and evolving into who I am now in the last couple of years, my family's been ultra judgmental of my choices. I have a roster and they're like, wait, you have a what? I'm like, yeah, I'm just living my best life and having a good time. And they're like, wow, oh my gosh. I get lectures from my mom and my sisters. And I'm like, I'm sex positive. I need for you to leave me alone. And if you can't do that, then we're not going to talk about my dating life. Okay.
Yeah, probably for the best, right? They're clutching their
Probably.
pearls. So do you feel like that has
Yep.
influenced that experience, has that influenced your sex life now?
I think so because I don't really feel like I got to explore as much when I was younger. It
Mm.
was very much you should just meet this good man and you should get married. And because I, fell for a covert narcissist, everybody was like, oh my gosh, he's so great for you. He's wonderful. He treats you like a queen and you should definitely marry him. There wasn't any time for me to really explore. So I tell people that I'm kind of reliving my would have been college days now and just doing what I want to do because no one who's going to tell me to stop.
Yeah, good for you. I'm all about that. Enjoy yourself. It's not lost on me that so many women are raised to feel like it's dirty, it's shameful, like you shouldn't
Mhm,
touch yourself, sex is for your husband, kind of, that type of
mhm,
dialogue. And then we grow up and we get married or, whatever. And we're expected to suddenly be these like triple X porn stars. And,
mhm.
there's such a divide between like the shame and the pleasure. I just wish more people were open to being okay with pleasure. It's a human right.
I do too.
So, what brings you pleasure, Dr. Caitlin?
Like in life in general,
I mean, however you want to answer it, life, sex,
I,
whatever.
I like the freedom to choose who I'm with when I'm with them. Now that I'm in a secure relationship, obviously my roster days are over for now, but who knows? I may go back to the streets. The freedom to choose is there, right? So I think for me, there was a lot of coming to terms with self love and like
Mhm.
my body and learning how to love my body and knowing what my body needs and being able to express that to a partner. That was huge because I think I lived under a rock for a decade in my marriage. And I didn't really get to explore all the things that I wanted to based on trauma and stuff like that. So I think now coming into this new era, I'm like, I really just can do whatever I want and have a great time. That brings me a lot of pleasure.
Yes, what a beautiful experience too. I have so many clients that I work with, Dr. Caitlin, and they feel the same way that you described. They're in these relationships, they're afraid to ask for what they want. There's the shame, the fear, past trauma sometimes. I always love hearing women have their sexual awakening and just living their best life. Solo play is the foundation for all partner play. So
Mhm.
have fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, like it's kind of empowering. I feel like it's empowering because whenever I meet a new partner, I will be able to tell them, like, hey, I really like this. Don't do that. Don't you dare ask me what I want to do next because that's your job. I've been making decisions all day. You got to tell me what to do. Be in control here. Okay. And they're like, oh, okay. And I'm like, yeah. So I already know what I like and I know exactly what I need. So you can just do that.
Yes, please. I always joke, the only place I want someone to tell me what to do is in the bedroom.
Absolutely. Can relate.
So, with everything you know about social work, psychology, dating, empowerment, how has it impacted your own sex and intimate life?
I think in the last couple of years, there's been a huge shift and I've been able to pay more attention to human behavior and different isms that people have, like obviously finding the red flags, but also figuring out how to relate to people and understand what my partners need. But also, I joke that I spend all my time in the male brain because most of my clients for my day job are men. It's been really fascinating to learn that men actually do think about nothing. They actually do. It's a thing. It's not a myth. And also figuring out how much they need and how much they don't know how to ask for it. Because I think that we grew up, all of us grew up in this society where if a little girl is crying, we're like, oh my gosh, what do we do? How do we help her? But if a boy is crying, they're like, suck it up. So they learn how to not express their needs. So I'm very purposeful about like, hey, what do you need from me right now? Whatever it is, you can tell me, and I'm going to try to meet you. We're going to compromise and kind of go from there. So I think that has been a huge piece because most women don't get to see the sides of the brain that I have, like in a man, right? And multiple
Yeah.
different men. So I think that has helped me exponentially. My partner may disagree sometimes because sometimes just I'm a little crazy. But I think that has helped me a lot. And just the knowledge and the background that I have, being able to like when I talk to men, sometimes I talk to my male clients and they're like, don't take this the wrong way, but like you're the exact kind of girl that I think I should be with. Not you, not you. Don't take it the wrong way. And I'm like, okay. It's just funny to hear them say that because I'll describe certain things that maybe women should do or don't do and all this stuff. And they're like,
You just become
so
enamored.
that's been fun. Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
have more female or male clients?
For my day job, I've got more male clients. For coaching, I've got all female
All
clients.
female. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I work with men and women with my pure romance business, but when it comes to coaching, I'm more comfortable in the space of other women. The guys that reach out to me, it's always like ends up in a dick pic or, you know, like, I like your boobs. I'm like, oh my God, next. This is not what this is for. I'm professional. So I'm curious, as a dating empowerment coach, do sex concerns come up with your clients?
Oh, yes. Actually, I've got quite a few that I think they are so attached to the outcome and they're so enamored with just having somebody that they sacrifice their needs sexually.
Mm, yeah.
And they're willing to accept that because they have someone that makes them feel whole. So I'm always talking to them about like, "Hey, are you really having your needs met right now sexually? Because it doesn't sound like it. Is there any way that can improve or change with this person? Or are there some tough decisions you need to make?"
Yeah, I mean, it's
Because they
definitely.
may most of them also came out of, long-term marriages where their needs weren't met there either. So it's like, "Hey, girl, when you get out of that, you gotta have your needs met. That's all."
I have some acquaintances that we've talked and even clients where it's like, I don't have the sex, but I have the guy. And I'm like, why can't you have it all?
You can't have it all, you just have to
Exactly.
try.
Yeah. I mean, of course, there's so many ways to improve intimacy and sex and relationships. And that's really interesting, though. And actually, not that surprising that women would want to have the partner and be okay with the sex not being so good, especially if they're anxious. That's just what my gut says.
Yeah, they're willing to miss out on certain things. I joke around with people sometimes, I'm like, "Man, I missed out on a lot of orgasms."
Right?
Being married to somebody for 10 years who wasn't meeting my needs sexually, and I'm unwilling to compromise in that category ever again. I'm not doing it.
Yeah. I had a very long friend with benefits situation when I was younger, and I missed out on a lot of great sex because he thought sex was just kiss and then put your penis in me. And I'm like, there's a
Ugh,
clitoris.
no. No.
So to all the listeners, please advocate for what you want in the bedroom. And if you need some tips, reach out to me or Dr. Kaitlyn. Her info will be in the show notes. We're here to help.
Definitely.
Dr. Kaitlyn, shifting gears, do you have a morning routine that you do every day? Can you tell me about it?
My morning is typically well, I have dogs, so they create the routine. They're like, "Oh, we gotta go outside. We gotta eat. We gotta," so I have their routine, right? But then I always make sure that I go into the day not rushed. That's been something that I've had to do recently because my anxiety used to be so bad that like I'm hella anxious before I even put my feet on the floor. So
Mhm.
I've had to not look at my phone as much in the morning and just kind of like take it slow. I always make sure I have a good breakfast. I'm a eater. My friends know if we're going somewhere, you have to make sure there's food options or tell me to bring my cooler because I will be eating, right? So like having a good breakfast and then not being rushed, especially my daughter has really benefited from this where I'm not as rushed in the morning. So I'm not like, come on, let's go, whatever. I'm like, what, we'll get there when we get there. Just being a little bit more relaxed. Cause I think as an anxious person, we get all like spun up in our head before we even make it out the door in the morning. And that just sets our day off for failure or overwhelm. So I try to make sure when I'm leaving in the morning, I'm like, okay, we're going to be calm, cool, collected, and keep it together. It'll be fine. Those are my main things. I have a weird work schedule, so it's never consistent, but I always make sure dogs are taken care of. I'm eating a breakfast, and I'm gonna be calm
Yeah,
and cool going out the door.
those are some great tips. I myself try to do a slow morning, so I'll add extra time into my morning. If I have a morning meeting, I'll wake up a little bit earlier, but having that quiet time in the morning, I have cats, so they don't have to go out, but they like to eat their fancy feast. But it's so
Mhm.
nice and relaxing to kind of ease into the day. And I find on those days where I don't have that space, I do feel more anxious and stressed out, and things don't always go my way when that happens.
Yep, that can be hard.
Indeed, yeah. So, are you currently reading anything or watching anything that you're really into that you wanna share with the listeners?
So, I joke around that I my ADD is so bad right now, I can't even watch shows, which is true. Mostly, I've been doing a lot of research lately on anxious attachment, obviously, but also I'm learning a lot on business and marketing right now. So I'm kind of inundated with that. For the listeners, I would say that, I mean, there's a couple of books out there on Amazon. If you just search anxious attachment, a few will come up. Attached is a good one. And then there's also anxious attachment workbooks, which can be really cool for those who are more, into journaling and writing things out and processing that way. So there's quite a few on Amazon that I would recommend that are pretty cool, and they've helped my clients a lot.
I love it. Yeah, attached is on my list. I have a lot of books I'm reading for school right now. Non-school books are on the back burner, but I have it in my Amazon cart. I'm just waiting until I have some space to read it, and I love a good workbook, so thank you. I will check that out. Now, I wanted to ask you about your programs. You told me that you have a program and you have a $200 off offer for our listeners. Can you tell us a little bit more
Mhm.
about what your program is?
So my program is a 3-month self-paced course. It has 8 modules. There's bonuses and stuff added as needs arise for clients. So it basically takes you through the education of what anxious attachment is, but then also like daily tools that you can use in your life to make it a little bit easier. I have some stuff in there as far as like where did the root of this come from and having people really become a little bit more aware of, oh, this happened in childhood and this happened because of this or that, and really just working on those negative cognitions and the things that they've taken from past relationships, whether it's from childhood or a failed marriage or bad relationship, stuff like that. And it also includes the weekly coaching calls with all the women in the program, which can be really helpful. They can learn from each other and just have that group support. I always joke that if you put people in a group, they'll basically heal themselves because I feel like it's so true. It is a group coaching program. The modules and stuff are obviously self-paced, but then there's the weekly coaching calls that we have with the women in the program that they really love. So that's the gist of it.
That's
It's pretty fun.
incredible.
Yeah.
I love coaching, which is why I got into it myself because it helped me so much. And definitely those group calls, I agree with you. It was a great way to heal together. Because a lot of times somebody would have something and it reflected in some way in my life too. So, what a great offering. Thank you. I will make sure I have all of Dr. Kaitlyn's information in the show notes so you can get that offer. Dr. Kaitlyn, before we finish, is there anything else that you want to chat about or that we didn't talk about today that you'd like to share with the listeners?
I just want to encourage anybody listening to really dive deep into the attachment style that you have and be okay with whatever it is, but then take the time to do the work and make yourself the best version of yourself without relying on somebody else to be completing you.
Love it. Thank you so much for all of your time and wisdom. This has been so incredible. And I'm excited to put some of these tips into work in my future dates. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks.
I hope that this conversation today was enlightening and that you learned something about attachment styles and why it's important to know about them in your dating and relationship life. Please be sure to check out the show notes. Dr. Kaitlyn has very graciously offered $200 off of her program. so you can get all the info there. And she also has a free Facebook group for women to get additional information and support. If you found this episode helpful, I would love to invite you to share this with a friend, like, follow, and review so that we can grow our audience and share it with more people. Until next time, sip on life's pleasures.